10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
So the Lunar Bible is a microfiche copy of the Bible. It's got all 1,245 pages of the King James Version of the Bible, but it's only 1.5 inches square.
Wow.
And what makes it lunar is that this particular copy landed on the moon.
That is amazing. So this Bible actually landed on the moon. Could you tell me a little bit more about how this happened?
Yeah, so the story begins in 1967 with an astronaut by the name of Ed White. He was part of the Apollo 1 mission, and he told reporters that he wanted to take a Bible to the moon. Now, unfortunately, in some of the test runs leading up to the launch of Apollo 1, there was a tragic accident where Ed White and the other astronauts in Apollo 1 perished. In their honor, the Apollo Prayer League was formed in 1968 by John Stout and other individuals. And part of their mission was to pray for the astronauts, pray for the crew, the safety of all involved. But another bigger part of their mission was to honor Ed White and his request and try to get a Bible on the moon. One of the challenges with getting a Bible to the moon was that astronauts were limited as to what personal items they could take with them. They were allowed a personal preference kit that was only 4 inches by 8 inches, and it had to weigh less than 8 ounces. So a traditional book was out of the question. It's just either too big or it would weigh too much. Well, fortunately, there was some technology developed in 1964 by the National Cash Register Company, and they produced these Microfiche Bibles that were very small and weighed almost nothing. So John Stout got a hold of some of these and was successful in getting a Bible on board the mission for Apollo 12. Unfortunately, due to a mix-up, it ended up in the command module rather than the lunar module. So it orbited the moon but didn't land.
So close.
Right. So then they tried again with Apollo 13, and they took 512 Bibles this time. And unfortunately, Apollo 13 never landed on the moon. It did orbit. There was an accident, an explosion. And fortunately, all the astronauts survived, made it back to Earth, but the Bibles didn't land on the moon. So he tried again with Apollo 14, and this time pilot Edgar Mitchell took the Bibles with him. So this time they took 300, and they put 200 in the command module and 100 in the lunar module, just so they didn't have that mix up again. And there was actually an unofficial packet of 212, to where they had 512 like they did for Apollo 13. And then on February 5th of 1971, Antares, the lunar module of Apollo 14, landed on the moon, thus creating the Lunar Bible.
That is a fascinating story. And you really see the history of technology, the history of the Bible, and Cold War America intersect in this one story. That's just amazing. So I'm curious, how many lunar Bibles are there?
Yeah, so originally there were 100, like I said, that touched down. And after they came back, Edgar Mitchell gave them to John Stout, and John Stout then distributed them. Sometimes he cut them into 50-page segments to give to various people. Other times he just gave out whole copies to people. He kept a registry of the 100 Bibles. So in terms of how many complete are still in existence today, it's hard to say, but less than 100.
So it sounds like the museum is pretty lucky to own a complete lunar Bible. How did it come to own one?
Yeah, we're very fortunate. So a friend of John Stout's was given several copies prior to his passing, with the caveat that they place these copies in museums and other educational institutions. And fortunately, this friend reached out to us and offered to gift a copy of the Lunar Bible in behalf of John Stout.
That's amazing, very lucky. So the story of this ancient book continues in the space age.
Absolutely.